Brad, before we get started, I just wanted to let you know that you have been elevated in my personal life
Uh-oh.
by Apple. You are now a priority notification. So
I definitely will not abuse that privilege.
I already
You
feel
already
like
turned that back on?
you're in the upper echelon as it is. I think this is a promotion. We'll see. This,
Mm,
with great responsibility comes something. No, with
marginal.
great,
Marginal respect. I don't.
I don't know what.
Well,
Okay.
Paul, I think we knew that this was coming.
Yeah.
We've been
Oh
waiting
yeah.
for this for a while, and like the timing just kind of lined up yesterday, and I finally ordered the fertilizer for my yard for the spring along with the
Yep.
pre-emergent.
Super excited about it. If all I ask this year is that we get video footage of this, and in fact, I want it to be sped up and set to the tune of either like a 1930s Charlie Chaplin video, maybe, or like the Three Stooges, like Benny Hill, something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, and then there's the other thing,
Yeah, the other thing's the pre-emergent.
right? Right.
I ordered all this stuff yesterday. And I was like, man, I'm excited for this. This is my life, is ordering stuff for my yard. But whatever. Anyways, the bigger thing here is this showed up last night, and actually I
Yep.
think it's now official. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Skype is getting Zuned, and
Well, I
yeah,
mean, okay, hold on a second. We have to think if there is a parallel here because they're replacing it with this other thing. Like with Zune, they just kind of walked away, right? They gave up. But I'm not sure what the parallel is here,
it got
but
linked.
yeah,
It got
yeah,
Windows Live Search.
yep. So yeah, I'm trying to think in the history of Microsoft, be very easy to come up with a list of brands that were not good, right? We all know the famous, infamous examples of those things.
Mm-hmm.
But the list of Microsoft brands that were good is short. And
Yeah,
it's look, it would be a seismic event if Microsoft either killed or sold off or whatever, spun off the Xbox brand. That'd be the biggest one in the world, maybe. But this one's it's as far as good brands over time, this is
yeah,
in the top five, no doubt about it.
yeah. If you
What are we
think
talking about, by the way?
Skype's dead. It's all official now, but it started leaking out last night, and actually somebody has an image of what the
Yeah, yeah.
notification will be here. So
Just inside baseball, as Mary Jo would say. They were going to announce this on Monday, so I've known about it. But I was intending over the weekend to look at least and probably
mhm.
write a longer bit about the history of this. Now I may still do that, but I, not. It's kind of after the fact. But last night I received two emails from different people, one of which had an image, one of which just had the text. And they were like, look, this is in the app. Like, this is happening. I don't know when, but it's going to be soon. And I was like, yeah, I can't really say anything, but thank you.
Yep.
So, yeah, I guess because of the leaks, they're going to, are as we speak, I think, announcing this. But I guess in this case, they have something, right? That's replacing it 100%, like pretty
Yeah.
much. I mean, unless I'm missing something. So, I will say the addition of a special kind of consumer version of Teams in Windows 11 always felt misguided.
A little bit.
Um, but the one thing that's changed, and it works well now, is they do have this integrated client, and you do get it in Windows 11 now, right? The newer version. It's not the most seamless thing in the world if you have to go back and forth between consumer and commercial accounts, but you can. And I don't really, now that we're not at BWW, like I don't use Teams for work stuff really.
Yeah.
So that's not a big deal to me. I do use Skype every day, which is kind of weird. And I've talked to the handful of people like Mary Jo and Raphael, like uh, over time, like many times, like we need to figure out something else because this doesn't feel permanent. And I guess consumer Teams is fine. It's fine. It's fine. Like I guess
Is it?
I think it is. I mean,
I feel like Skype got killed by its own lack of whatever, right? I think Discord took a large portion. So Skype was always sort of like, I don't want to say my generation, but like a certain demographic of the internet use Skype. Like you use Skype, I use Skype, we all use Skype. And then all these
Yeah.
other chat apps came online, like WhatsApp. Then there was also Discord, and Skype. Just Microsoft did nothing with it. They're like, it's fine. It is what it is. And then these other platforms just became more pervasive. Mobile really exploded.
This is why I want to go back. I guess I still will, but I wanted to go back and look at my archives because over time there were big pushes to improve Skype, right?
Mhm.
You might remember on the mobile end, and one of the more recent things was they really prettied it up. They did a nice redo, and this wasn't like architectural. It was just like, we need to make this look like a modern
Yep.
chat app, which I thought was good. There was the integration stuff in Windows Phone where Skype was Skype and messaging, like text messaging, where could be in the same app for messaging, and then they were going to bring in others, right? There were the architectural back end shifts. I think most people probably have some vague memory of the original Skype was written in Delphi, I think.
Oof.
Right, the Borland product at the time, and I'm not going to get this right, but let's to simplify this conversation because I don't know what I'm talking about. Kind of a push versus a pull model. So there was it was very clear the way internet-based messaging was going, and it might have been a client server services thing. I don't remember the architecture shift, but that was a big project. It took a long time, and they got it. They did it. It was fine. They did it right. But yeah, this is going to be a little bit like Windows Phone. There's no meteor that killed it off. One thing, it was a bunch of things, and maybe at the times when it mattered most, it just wasn't strategic for Microsoft. It's hard to say, but
Yeah.
ultimately, the final one I think was Teams, because once Teams became successful as a brand,
Right.
like the most successful Office-related thing since Office, it was over, right?
Yep.
I mean, it makes no sense for an individual to use a product called Teams, but it makes no sense to hit a start button to shut down a computer. So, this is our world, right? We should just get used to that. I don't know. Anyway, like I said, I didn't.
I think you hit it pretty well there. That the Skype, the most powerful thing about Skype for the past decade, we'll just call it that, has been the brand rather than the product. And now that they have potentially a better brand.
Yeah, there's again, like I said, I'm just talking off my top of my head, so I'm not remembering it correctly, but there are some good things there. Like, you could buy Skype credits and talk to people on the phone, like at a time when long distance calls were still expensive. Like, that was a good idea. And that they didn't run with to whatever. They never did like a Google Voice kind of a thing where actually they kind of did, right? Couldn't you associate a phone number?
I think you could, yeah.
I think you could, yeah.
You could buy a phone number.
Okay. I mean, is Google Voice a big business for Google or something? What are we talking about?
It doesn't have ads, so.
Yeah, that's the other thing. They've really crapped it up lately. I would say 50. This might be true of you too. 50% of my conversations with Raphael are just about how terrible Skype has become. Because there's like AI in there and like new summaries, and they're letting spam through it. Like this is something I've noticed the past 2-3 months. It's been horrific. Like, I get a Skype notification here on my computer, my phone, whatever, and I look at it and I'm like, it's like, hi, it's Sue. Like, let's get together. Or you've been joined into a group that talks about Bitcoin. Or like, why are you allowing this stuff through? Like, this is. So I don't know. But look, I would say just for the Microsoft people, a little weary of all the stuff getting killed or whatever. This one
is.
The Skype stuff informed and was built into fundamentally the team stuff as they were building it. Those two things share whatever parts needed to be shared, and we do have that to fall back on. So if you're listening to this, if you're a normal mainstream user and non-technical and you use Skype, the icon is going to change, and it's okay. Skype, like there's a paranormal activity movie that the Connect factors into, where it lights up the room with the green dots that you never actually saw in real life, right? Skype has factored into popular entertainment movies and TV shows. Like, have you ever seen that show, Somebody Feed Phil or whatever? He calls his parents at the end of every show, and he uses Skype. And Skype is very prominently, you see the logo on the screen and everything, right? I think there's probably like a You've Got Mail or whatever type movie from the early 2000s or something that uses Skype as a thing where these two star-crossed lovers can talk to each other over distance and time or whatever. Not time. It wasn't that technically advanced, but you know what I'm saying. It was a thing. It was, people knew it.
Yep.
There's a brand, that's what's sad. Like they had a pretty good asset there.
Yeah, they paid $8 billion for it too. I'd say they probably got their money's worth out of it.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It sounds squandered, but not really, right? Because look, the Nokia stuff, can you point to something in Microsoft's portfolio today where they benefited from that in the slightest? Yeah. No, but Skype, like I said, foundation of Teams. Teams is the most successful thing they've done, new product especially in the office space in 30 years, at least 20 years. I mean, a long time.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, at least I would say 30. Big.
Yeah, it's huge. The other thing that got dinosaured yesterday, which was a little interesting. So
yeah,
upstairs, primary box, I have 2 monitors, and they were both connected by DisplayPort cables to my PC. Reboot the computer, and one of the monitors just turns off. Like, that's not good. So it gets all the way back into Windows, doesn't come on. I power cycle it, do everything. Long story short, I think it's the cable went bad because I pulled out an HDMI cable, plugged it into the monitor, plugged it into my computer, worked fine. But just
right. So A, I'm glad, I'm happy to hear it's something simple. B, how much time do you spend, and how much time does normal, non-technical people spend just troubleshooting? What people would throw this all in a box and bring it to Best Buy and give it to the Geek Squad.
Yeah.
And find out 5 days later and $500 later, it was just $20 cable. Like, how do you figure this stuff out?
I was really concerned that it was the GPU starting to go, because that literally is at least a $500 endeavor to even get a mid-range card secondhand market anymore. Although AMD just announced some new cards, which are coming, that are actually right in that $500 price point. So
yep. I haven't had a chance to look at this, but if I'm not mistaken, AMD announced about 100 different things 2 seconds ago. I got to go look at that, but
yeah, they look pretty. I mean, on the cover they look pretty good, but it's the same problem you have. It's like the NVIDIA one is.
Yeah, so because of the framework announcement this past week, where they announced 2 new 2 PCs and then AMD-based laptop, which is really interesting. This kind of idea of because I review laptops, right? And so this laptop I have in front of me has probably at least 3 different types of USB ports. And why don't we? Remember, there was this brief moment where you could tell what a port was by the color.
Yep.
They were yellow and blue, and I think red as well. We need to have something like this. I need to know, if you have a monitor that's a couple of USB-C ports or whatever, and a computer has a couple of, I should be able to get a cable that has colors in either end at the very least. So I know this is the Thunderbolt 4 version. It's going to give me the best possible performance if it's a drive or something, or this one's green, so it's good. It's for displays, it matches the color on the display. This is the simple. I'm not describing a technology standard that the different groups have to agree. Well, everyone would have to agree, but can we just do this? This is simple stuff. Can't tell what anything is anymore. I don't know. This is a weird little. This is what our industry does. It just confuses.
At least we survived the week. I will tell you, you got me onto a thing. I was going to say this for Monday, but I don't know if I'm going to do it this weekend. So Paul and I were talking earlier this week about downloading YouTube videos, right?
Yep.
Archiving and actually owning all your stuff. I was like, man, that's actually a good point, because all my junk is scattered across the universe. There's stuff on YouTube, there's stuff on Twitter, there's stuff on Blue Sky, there's stuff on Thurrott.com, there's stuff on wherever. It's like, man, I should build my own website so I can at least have a place that if the whole world kaputs, I at least have a location.
Yeah, and have some kind of schedule where you push everything over, or maybe going forward, maybe you automate it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It was just more of a I wonder how I would orchestrate all that together.
Yep. Oh, how are you going to do it, guy? Because I have a random idea about this.
Well, I kind of want to do it. I just don't know how I want to do it yet.
All right, so this is just a starting point, and I'm trying to figure out if this is worth writing about myself. But this morning, Kevin Roos, he was the guy at the initial Bing AI launch thing where he's like, "I'm switching to Bing," and I was like, "No, you're not." And then 2 days later, he wrote this thing I was a little, this thing has been threatening me. It's been, and I was like, what an idiot. Anyway, but he has an article about using AI for coding, and it in the New York Times this morning. It's basically, I'm not a coder. but I've written apps and I've used AI for it. And he lists these services that do it. And we are very quickly getting to the point where anyone could write what we would call an app. It's, I don't know what you want to call it. It's just a, we've had game maker apps and little, whatever, the visual things that throw together a script or something. But some of these things work by just, you tell them what you want, and then it determines the best way to solve that problem, meaning both the LLM and the language it will use to write whatever this app is that comes out of it. So you're going to see all kinds of stuff like this. It's going to be a golden age of like personal apps written by those people maybe, or by some small person or small company, whatever. And I think the thing you want to do is you want to go to an AI and say, okay, so I have these videos here, and here's the thing, and I have these videos that just describe the problem. Be like, I need a thing, an app or whatever that will, GPT or whatever you want to call it, that will first download these things all for me, so I have them offline, and then maybe it's a different thing where you say, now I want to upload these things to all the services at the same time, or whatever it might be. Like you might not be able to do that right now, but you will be able to do that like in 10 seconds. Like that's how fast this moves. So I would just read the article, not because it's a great article, but because he has lists some services that do this stuff, and it's just worth looking at. That's all I'm saying. So it's kind of a good starting point.
Yeah, I just got to figure out, because the website, like I could write a bespoke website using AI now. That's not very difficult. But however, the problem is like you fight a lot of battles there. It's like, oh, I need to add comments. I want to add a new thing. And then you're like, I'll probably end up with some sort of WordPress is my guess, just because it's...
Yeah, just in time for that to implode. I don't know if you're following that news, but...
yes. Which is why I need to run it myself.
So, God, we can. I can't. I'm not going to come off the top of my head, but one of the things I've been looking at a lot lately is Substack. So, Substack has some problems, right? It's the critics of this service would say like you're helping to promote someone else's business. All the sites look the same, whatever. But the thing this is the thing I'm not going to come up with. Oh, actually, I will come up with one. There are, just as there are a million Notion alternatives, there are a bunch of Substack alternatives. One to look at is called Ghost.
I've been looking at that one, and
yeah, that one looks really good. And it's your stuff. You can put it anywhere you want. And I in the same way that I'm doing like a NAS thing this year, where I want to have that be the center of my storage for whatever, all my stuff. Ghost or something like Ghost. There are others, but that's the one to me that I can remember that was the one I'm most like, yeah, this could do it. Something to look at. Yeah. Because you can move it around wherever you want. If something goes south, you just push it somewhere else, something to look at.